What is up, you guys? This is All Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you another Defiance 2050 video. So this is going to be the first episode, I suppose, of gun builds. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to be showing you 5 different weapons. They're just different weapon types, and I'm going to be showing you how I like to build my weapons, what mods I like to put on them, and the modified bonuses, etc, etc. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first weapon. So the first weapon is going to be the Mozzie Blast Rifle Selector. So you can get this weapon from the Selector Enterprise box when you do your co-op. You can get it from drops as well, and you can also purchase a Mozzie Blast Rifle Selector from the Selector vendor. So with the weapon itself, you're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and show you the bonuses, the modified bonuses I use, and then I'll show you the mods. So the bonuses, I normally go with one of the 4: reload, accuracy, and recoil, and then sometimes I'll either go reload or I'll go damage. It really depends on you though, because for me, I really like to have a fast reload rather than really anything else, because the faster your reload is, the faster the more damage you can put out. But also having that extra damage will also help so much. That's why I have on this Mozzie Blast, it's reload, recoil, accuracy. This one is damage, recoil, and accuracy. Recoil and accuracy are for sure the 2 I would highly recommend putting on, at least, at the very least, accuracy, because the thing about Selector weapons is they have a high fire rate, but having a high fire rate can also result in having a wide spread in the bullets, so bullets will be spraying everywhere. That's why I also enjoy having a good recoil, so that way I can keep it sustained in one spot. So the reload or the damage modifier are pretty much up to you. Now for the modified mods, I normally go with stock. On the stock, I normally go with recoil. I don't go with accuracy or the melee, because I'm not too worried about the melee bonus anyways for any of my weapons. And the fire rate, well, Mozzie Blast Rifle already has the fastest fire rate weapon, or the fastest fire rate on all auto rifles or assault rifles. So that's why I go with recoil, because recoil definitely helps a lot with being having your Mozzie Blast sustained. And then the barrel, I normally go with damage, but going with the crit multiplier does help balance it out, because if you go with a damage bonus on your weapon for the modified bonuses, if you go with damage, having a good balance between damage and crit multiplier will increase the damage output, especially if your enemy has a crit spot. If they don't have a crit spot, then obviously having the extra damage in your barrel is going to be more useful. But either or is definitely one of the good options. And then for the magazine, I went with reload rather than the recoil recovery. Recoil recovery isn't going to matter when you have a high amount of recoil. So having a high amount of reload on your mag is definitely going to help with kill time, pretty much. And then the sight, I went with accuracy rather than the fall off distance, because the fall off distance on the Mozzie Blast Rifle is already really good. So you don't necessarily need to have that, because you can shoot enemies from long range pretty easily with this. And then for the ammo mod, it really depends on what you're going to be fighting the most. I'd normally go with health damage, because most enemies have a health bar. Sorry, I'm a little sick right now, so I'm trying to get my words together. But the ammo mod, I normally put health damage, the fire mod, just because most enemies have a health bar, and then I'll have another weapon that can take the shield or the armor down. But that's pretty much it with the Mozzie Blast Rifle. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the next weapon for number 2. Alright, so up next is going to be the Tack Mag Pulsar Selector. So with the Tack Mag Pulsar Selector, it is a Selector weapon as well that you can get from any of the Selector vendors. and you can get it as well from any of the selected chests from co-op, and it can be a random drop. So what this is an SMG as well, and the perks I have on it are reload, accuracy, and damage. But what I would highly recommend, instead of reload, I would go with crit multiplier, accuracy, and damage. The only reason why I can't change this because I don't have any more Corellium cores. But the reason why I would go critical multiplier on mostly any SMG is because most SMGs can dish out a good amount of damage with a high amount of crits, and that extra damage as well is going to help the SMG, because SMGs don't have a high base damage, but they have a high fire rate. So you don't need to worry about putting any fire rate on your weapon, and you don't need to worry about really the reload speed, because the reload speed on an SMG is pretty fast as well already. So having that extra reload time isn't, I mean, it's going to help, but it's not really necessary. And then having a good accuracy on the Tack Mag Pulsar Selector is going to be extremely important, because the Tack Mag Pulsar Selector has a very widespread reticle. So if you don't have any accuracy on this weapon, it's going to basically spray all around in front of you, which is not really going to be good unless you're right up on the enemy. Now for the modified bonuses, I have recoil and on the stock, which is not bad at all. Having recoil on this is going to actually help you a lot. And then for the barrel, I went with damage, because having this weapon does need a higher base damage. And then for the magazine, I have reload speed, so that way I don't need to really worry about anything else. And also that means I wouldn't really need the reload speed on my modified bonuses as well. And then for the sights, I have accuracy. Like I said, having a higher accuracy on this weapon is going to help you a lot more, because of the fact that it shoots all over the place. For the ammo mod, I just put my corrosive because of the fact that I do have fire already on my Mozzie blast. But it just comes down to you. It comes down to whether you want to use this as your main weapon or a secondary weapon. Normally, secondary weapons, I would go with either corrosive or electricity, while the main weapon has fire. But that's pretty much it with the Tack Mag Selector. I'm going to go ahead and show you the third. Alright, so for number 3, we're going to be going over the M279 Saw Top Notch. So this weapon you can get from the Top Notch faction vendor, or from opening the Top Notch vendor or co-op box, or again from just a random drop from enemies. Now, so for the weapon mods I have on it, or the modified bonuses, I have accuracy, damage, and reload. So those are the 3 I would highly recommend. I would definitely put on my my weapon, because the accuracy always helps with LMGs, because LMGs have a pretty big widespread. And instead of damage, I'd actually go with fire rate. Having an increased fire rate on this weapon is definitely going to help more than the extra damage, because this weapon has a high fire rate, a high damage output anyways out of all the other LMGs, but it has a very slow fire rate. So having accuracy, fire rate, and reload is probably going to be your best bet. Now for reload, the reason why is because the reload speed on this weapon is very, very, very slow. So having that extra reload speed on your bonuses is going to kill a lot of that time of reloading. Now for your modified mods, I would go with fire rate on the stock rather than recoil, because the weapon doesn't recoil too bad. It's not hard to handle. It'll still bounce around a little bit, but it's not going to bounce around incredibly too much. Now for the barrel, I went with damage rather than crit multiplier. The reason why I went with damage is just because you're going to be for me, the way I see the LMGs is just for sustained damage rather than putting out the most damage, so that way I'm able to constantly keep hitting body shots or whatever it is, just to make sure I'm always hitting the enemy. For example, if you're fighting a bulwark and you have allies near you, but they have weapons that are focused on crits and they need to reload their weapon, or something happens, you don't want that bulwark to regen, so you just keep spamming your gun on them, and I mean, that's why I like having damage. Just the base damage, that's all it does, is it increases the base damage. So for the magazine, I went with reload speed, and obviously, like I said, the reason why you would want reload speed is just to kill the time of the reload. For sight, I would highly recommend going with accuracy, or yeah, no, just accuracy. Fall off distance isn't going to be an issue with LMGs. Unless you're trying to snipe them with an LMG, then you would probably want to go with fall off, but I would just go with accuracy in general. Accuracy all the way. And then for the ammo, it all depends on you. There's no reason to go with shield penetration unless you want to. But like I said, it just depends on you. For me, I don't know what I would really put on it. I would probably end up putting like corrosive or shield. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to the fourth gun. Alright, for the next weapon, it's going to be the Fragger Selector. So Fragger Selector is basically like a pump action shotgun, which has a very good damage, and it's got pretty fast fire rate as well. So for the bonuses I have on it, I have reload, fire rate, and fall off distance. I would highly recommend not putting fire rate on it and rather put something like damage or crit multiplier on it, because this weapon doesn't need the fire rate whatsoever. Now for the modify mods, I did still put fire rate on it because it doesn't necessarily need the recoil, but if you like the recoil, then you can put that on. And it also doesn't really need the melee damage either, but if you like to melee enemies, you can put that on. So that's why for me, I only thought the fire rate was the more reasonable option. And then for the barrel, I put damage because just base damage in general is really nice to have. And then for the magazine, I have recoil recovery. So recoil recovery is not a bad option for shotguns because whenever you shoot a shotgun, it just flinches up, and then having the recoil recovery increases the time it takes for it to come back down to its same spot. So having a decent amount of recoil recovery makes it so where you don't really need to have the recoil mod or recoil stock. But you could also end up going with the reload speed, but this weapon already has a pretty good reload speed anyways, especially if you already get the modified bonuses on it. You're not going to really need the extra reload speed, but having extra reload speed won't hurt you at all either. And then for the sights, I went with accuracy, but the best option would be to go with fall off distance, because shotguns don't necessarily need the accuracy at all. Like in my opinion, I don't think accuracy is necessary at all with the shotgun, especially since you're going to be up close on them anyways. So having fall off distance is going to be more useful just because you can get them at a longer range. And then for the ammo, I put corrosive on this just because I like to make sure I have either corrosive or electricity on my shotguns, so that because those are going to be the two shield types that are going to be a major issue for you. Health bars aren't going to be a big problem to take out even with corrosive or electricity. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and go to the last gun. So for the last gun, it's going to be the Scattergun Top Notch. This is by far the strongest shotgun in the game, but it also only shoots one time. So at least to me, it's the strongest. I know there are other sawed-off shotguns, but to me, this is definitely the strongest. But the stats you can go with, the ones I have is damage, reload, and fall off distance, and then the other one I have reload, damage, and crit multiplier. So this one, the one with damage, reload, and crit multiplier, is going to put up more damage critical wise. This one just can hit from a longer range. So it's really up to you on what you want to go with those four stats, but those are the four stats I would highly recommend going with: damage, reload, fall off distance, damage, reload, crit, and crit multiplier. So now with the modified bonuses or modified mods, I have recoil, which isn't too bad. I would either recommend recoil or melee damage. Obviously you wouldn't go with fire rate because you only get one shot, so going with fire rate would be pretty useless. For the barrel, I have damage rather than critical damage or critical multiplier. The reason why I went with damage is just because the higher base damage, the easier you can do body shots rather than always going for the head. But having a good crit multiplier also will increase a lot of your damage to enemies that have crit spots. And then for the magazine, you definitely want to go with reload because sawed-offs can take a long time with their reload speed. So having a good reload time on your sawed-offs is going to be very crucial. And then for the sight, I went with fall-off distance. Obviously, you're gonna want to go with fall-off distance, so that way you're not always having to be right up on top of the enemy. So you can be somewhat in a good distance from them, so you can hit them from range. You can have accuracy, but accuracy to me just is pretty pointless for the shotguns. And then the ammo mods, I have one for the shield, and then the other one has fire. So that way I have 3 shotguns with all 3 different elements. And for the other one, I'm just going to go ahead and take a look if I have anything different. So this one I have recoil, crit multiplier, reload, and accuracy. So I did put accuracy on this one. Obviously I shouldn't, but I just don't have the I don't have fall off distance for the sight for this weapon. So that's why accuracy was my second best option. But that's pretty much it with this whole video. If this helped you out at all, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section. And if you have any weapons, any weapons that you want to see the way I build them, then go ahead and put that down in the comment section, and I will be doing another one. I'm pretty much going to be doing this every week. I'm not going to do multiple videos every day or whatever of this, because that's just a little too much. But every week I'll do 5 guns, and that way it'll kind of keep it fresh, and it'll also keep people wanting to see how I build, I guess, how I build the weapons. I guess technically I'll be doing this every Thursday, about maybe around the same time. So that's pretty much it with this video. This is All Day Any Day 1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and enjoy the rest of your day.